Nicolás Maduro Moros was born on November 23, 1962, far from any privileged environment. His origins were not tied to historic surnames or influential families. He grew up in a working-class household, shaped by everyday neighborhood life, where politics were discussed openly and authority was not inherited but earned on the street. Although his public identity is associated with Venezuela, his birth actually took place in Colombia, specifically in the city of Cúcuta. At a very young age, his parents moved to Venezuela, which at the time represented a promise of progress. During the 1960s and 1970s, Venezuela was one of the fastest-growing economies in Latin America. Oil revenue allowed for a standard of living that attracted thousands of migrants from across the region. For many families, crossing the border meant access to jobs, education, and stability. Maduro was shaped within that context, inside a society that still offered upward social mobility. From a young age, he showed an inclination toward leadership. He was not an outstanding academic student, but he was someone who sought influence among his peers. At school and in the streets, he stood out for his ability to gather people, speak up, and generate sympathy. His humor, jokes, and ease in connecting with others earned him popularity among classmates and teachers. However, his formal education was never completed. He did not officially finish high school. During adolescence, his interests shifted toward rock music, bands like Led Zeppelin, and a countercultural aesthetic that distanced him from the traditional academic path. That more rebellious lifestyle ultimately pushed him into the workforce at an early age. He began working as a bus driver, a common occupation in working-class sectors, but one that would later become a key element of his story. Through public transportation and later the Caracas Metro, Maduro became involved in union activism, worker organization, and grassroots politics. But driving a bus was not his final destination. Maduro wanted to move upward, to escape routine, to stop merely surviving. He did not aspire to be an academic politician or an intellectual behind a desk. His ambition was different. He wanted to become a power operator. That is why he sought political training outside Venezuela, specifically in Cuba. That decision was significant. Cuban political training does not focus on charisma or public speaking. It centers on discipline, structure, internal obedience, and the construction of political cadres. There, power is understood as a closed system, where each actor fulfills a specific role and loyalty is the supreme value. That training would deeply shape Maduro's leadership style. In Cuba, he began building connections and learning how hierarchies function and how to move within rigid organizations. It was also the beginning of his approach to the core of Chavismo. The pivotal moment came in 1992, when Hugo Chavez failed in his coup attempt and was imprisoned. While many distanced themselves from a defeated figure, Maduro did the opposite. He remained active in the streets, participated in protests demanding Chavez's release, and visited him in prison. In politics, those gestures are never forgotten. Some people approach power once it is consolidated. Others do so when everything appears lost. Chavez always valued the latter. His political project was built by rewarding loyalty shown during defeat. Within that same orbit, another decisive relationship took shape: Celia Flores. An influential figure within Chavismo, she would later become his wife and a key piece of the political structure. Together, they would form part of the inner circle of power. From that point on, Maduro's career advanced steadily but quietly. It was not a meteoric or media-driven rise. It was a silent staircase, built on trust and obedience. He moved from union bus driver to institutional operator. He participated in the constituent process promoted by Chávez and later entered the legislative sphere. Within the National Assembly, he became known as a reliable figure, someone who executed orders without questioning them. He did not stand out for charisma or personal magnetism. Paradoxically, that lack of brilliance worked in his favor. He was not perceived as a threat by other powerful figures. On the contrary, he appeared weak, manageable, trustworthy. That profile allowed him to rise without generating resistance. He even began as Chávez's personal escort, a symbolic position that reflected absolute proximity. He had no university degrees or prestigious academic background, but he possessed a key skill: knowing who to align with and when. In 2006, he became president of the National Assembly, a strategic post within the state. There, he developed a crucial ability: keeping political blocs united even amid internal tensions. Later, Chávez appointed him Minister of Foreign Affairs. As foreign minister, Maduro became the international face of Chavismo. He traveled constantly, forged alliances, and represented the country in global forums. He was the visible representative of the Bolivarian project without being president. His main strength was not captivating crowds, but maintaining the line. He was disciplined, rigid, and absolutely loyal. Within Chavismo, that trait was valued like pure gold. During this period, a striking element emerged: his spiritual turn, alongside Celia Flores, toward Sai Baba, an Indian spiritual leader revered by millions. This revealed a religious and mystical dimension present within much of the Chavista leadership. In addition, his ties to esoteric practices, Santeria, and Yoruba religious rituals became known. Altars, necklaces, prayers, and ceremonies were part of the spiritual environment surrounding power. Chávez himself was also known for engaging in these practices, even traveling to Cuba to perform them. They did not rely solely on political advisors. They also had babalaos and spiritual guides who supposedly protected them from attacks and illness. Over time, some linked these practices to Chávez's declining health and later cancer, interpreting it as a spiritual consequence. On March 5, 2013, Hugo Chávez's death changed everything. Within weeks, Maduro went from operator to successor. He won an extremely tight election against Enrique Capriles with a minimal margin that left his legitimacy questioned from the very beginning. He was no longer the unionist or the foreign minister. He was the heir to a system designed by another man, and he had to prove he could sustain it. From that moment on, Venezuela entered a period marked by massive protests, repression, political prisoners, and international condemnation. Power was consolidated through contested elections and increasingly authoritarian control. Maduro began occupying official residences, palaces, and complexes designed to represent state power. The epicenter was the Miraflores Palace, surrounded by annex buildings and multiple security rings with strong Cuban involvement. Although Miraflores functions as the political headquarters, the historical residence was La Casona, a former plantation converted into a presidential mansion. With 5 hectares of gardens in one of Caracas's most valuable areas, its symbolic weight was enormous. Maduro chose not to live there and instead turned it into a museum, officially for cultural reasons, in practice for security. He slept in different locations, never repeating the same place, using private mansions, penthouses, and bunkers. He also acquired La Orchila, a Caribbean archipelago with military installations, historically used as a presidential refuge. isolated, secure, and prepared for emergencies. Scandals escalated with the lifestyle of his family, especially his son, Nicolás Ernesto Maduro Guerra, known as Nicolásito. His rise was immediate, directly embedded within the state apparatus. The United States sanctioned him in 2019. Leaked videos showed lavish parties amid a devastating humanitarian crisis. Luxury cars, designer brands, million-dollar watches, and shell companies began to surface. Accusations of money laundering, drug trafficking, and corruption were documented. Private jets linked to the presidential circle were seized. Yachts, mansions, and accounts were frozen. While the official discourse attacked the United States, his family enjoyed luxury in Miami. The contrast was stark. Sanctions extended to other countries, such as Switzerland and Turkey. The international net tightened. Million-dollar rewards were offered for information about his whereabouts. Ultimately, after mounting tensions, the story culminates in a lightning operation that exposed the deterioration of Venezuela's military apparatus and the collapse of its institutions. Today, Nicolás Maduro and his wife face serious charges related to drug trafficking and conspiracy. The story leaves an open question. How far can someone go when power becomes an obsession? If you made it this far, leave a like without breathing, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.